So, hi everyone. I hope I'm audible. So, thank you for joining. I'm very honored to be here. Anyway, my name is Aditya, and I have been working on Fabric Cloud uh, since a long time now. So, before we go into Fabric Cloud and everything else, since some of you are new here, let me tell you a little bit about ourselves. We are Frappe. We are a software company based out of Mumbai, and we build a bunch of open source softwares. You might have heard about us. Uh, you might have heard about YARPNext before, or Framework before, or maybe you have heard about us from the newer apps that we're building recently, like CRM Insights, uh, website builder. Anyway, welcome all of you. Now that you know a little bit about us, one thing you will know is, again, everything that we build is open source, including Fabric. So that is just a plus point. Anyway, so now you would ask, what is Fabric Cloud? Fabric Cloud is just our hosting platform. Everything that we build in Fabric gets hosted on Fabric Cloud. Every single thing. Even the fabriccloud.com website, even the Fabric.io website. Every single one of our customer sites gets hosted on Fabric Cloud. And we had built it just for ourselves, for solving our own problems. Before this, about 6 years ago, we had a platform called Central, where people can come to a website called yarpnext.com, and then they can sign up, they can choose a plan, and they get their own instance of YARPNext. And we had similar technology like Fabric Cloud back then, but we used it for ourselves. We used it to essentially fix our engineers' efficiencies. We could very easily manage updates for ourselves. We can deploy all the updates very fast, and we can any server management related issues we could take care of using this technology. We call it Central back then. And later we realized, there's no reason for us to, only for us to have this technology. So what we did was we built Fabric Cloud so that whatever tools we had access to, all our customers would have access to. So just like we were managing hundreds of sites back then, our customers can now also manage hundreds of sites, and they could deploy their own apps instead of just relying on Frappe and YARPNext. So that is, in general, the story of Fabric Cloud. And 6 years later, everything that we know of, every single site in Frappe is hosted on Fabric Cloud. And most of your sites are also hosted on Fabric Cloud. So thank you for all of this. So, the success has been great so far. We have seen enormous growth, and we have seen enormous trust from our customers, from you guys. There are certain things we expected would go our way. For instance, we expected eventually we'd get a lot of sites. So sites, for those of you who don't know, it is basically a separate instance. It might be a website, it might be a deployment of your company, it might be a deployment of your subsidiary. So we have seen tens of thousands of sites so far active on Fabric Cloud. And one thing we couldn't see is people have been writing a bunch of custom apps. A few of these apps are now published on Marketplace, so anybody has access to them. Most of these apps are open source, so you don't have to pay anything to get these apps. So while we manage the scale, one of the things that is constantly at the back of our mind is essentially maintaining reliability. And uptime is one of these numbers that we judge our reliability by. We would like this number to be as high as possible, but this is the number that we are currently managing. And it is extremely difficult to get to this number. And we are a little bit proud of it. So with all of this, now let me just show you how you can start with Fabric Cloud, or for those of you who already have seen how to start, maybe we can just go into some demos.
So Aditya, before you jump into the demo, can you quickly
Does this make it better, or is it still the same problematic zone? I'm sorry. So when you come to our website, you'll see a bunch of things like our features, pricing, and everything, and you'll see a link to getting started. So this would essentially your entry point to Rapid Cloud. I will create a new account instead of using my existing account, so everybody can just see the sign-up flow themselves. So let me make a number. You get OTP sent to you, and then that is it. So when you sign up, you get an OTP. Once you tell us the OTP, we give you the account. Now the simplest way is to pick an app that you are most familiar with and get started. Let's pick ERP Next. It is the most popular app that we host. So let's do webinar ERP Next. Trial. Okay. So one of the things on Rapid Cloud you'll see is we are hosting our servers in a bunch of regions. We should typically choose a region that is closest to you. That is going to give you the smallest possible latency. And when you create an account with Rapid Cloud, you don't have to pay for anything. We just give you a trial account, and you don't have to set up any payment details or anything. All of that comes later. So in this case, though, what I've also done is I already have an account with me. So I'll show you some of the features in that account. But let's remember this trial account that I created. It'll take a while for this site to get started. So this is my another account where I already have a bunch of sites. Again, just to clarify, sites in Rapid Clouds or even Frappé's parlance is a database that is separate from all other sites. Anything that you want to keep in an isolated database, you should keep within one site. Some of the times our customers deploy only one company in one site. Some of the times they deploy only one subsidiary of a company in a site. Every single URL you typically see on Rapid Cloud is a separate site. So all of these four are different sites. They don't interfere with each other. They can have different apps on them. They can be on a different version of Fabric Framework. I hope that clears, that gives you some idea about what a site is. Maybe going forward, we'll see more and more details about this. But let's see if our trial site is created. It takes a while. Anyway, so now one of the things I want to show is the Teams feature, because most of our customers end up becoming a partner, and then one of the primary use case that they have is they have several team members, and now they want to give different team members different access. So we built the Teams feature, and basically the moment you sign up, you get your own team with your own name, and you can invite more and more members to your team. So I already have created one account, but the recent one that I added, let me invite that member. So after I do this, all the 4 sites that you see in my account, the other member will also have access to. And I can give them a specific role, or I can just leave them without a role. And then if I don't give them any role, any restriction, they just get to see everything. So after you send after you invite a member, you basically get an email notification. I just already have gotten a few. You have to be logged out of the account to accept the email invite. So this invite is specifically crafted for you for this account. You say accept and you're dropped in. Now we see the site that I created before, but I can also do say change team and I can swap to the team that was previously created. Now I see all the other sites that the other team member have created. So now you can basically, every team member can have their own account, and that way you can keep their sites isolated, their billings isolated. One of the other things you can do also with teams, and that is the last feature I'll show, is the team owner can essentially restrict permissions for any team member. So in this case, I can either remove the team member, or I can say, hey, I want to create a role and restrict a team member to that role. Maybe the new member is just an intern, and what I want to do is add and create a role, add this new member to that role. And either I can give them additional access, so they can even have access to billing. They can act as an admin and give other people privileges. And in this case, we are not giving them any additional access, but we are going to take away some permissions. So by default, they are able to see everything. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to say the interns can only see a specific site. Maybe they can see the webinar news site. And let's say what they can also see is the public bench webinar site. Just 2 sites out of the 4 sites, and that is it. Nothing else will they be able to see. So let's hope this works fast. So now the team member that just joined can only see 2 sites from this account. And not only they can see 2 sites, because they don't have access to create a site, they can't even create a site. So this way you can restrict a team member to a particular access. This is, I mean, this isn't a feature that we built since day one, but as we got new customers and new requirements, this is one of the popular features that we keep getting, and we keep getting requests on weird permissions on these sites. Maybe sometimes people. Anyway, let me just skip ahead. So now that you know what a sign up is and how to create a new site, let me tell you about some apps. For instance, so on Marketplace, which is basically a curated list of apps that we have, we have essentially some featured apps. Most of these are going to be Frappe apps because they tend to be the most popular for now. Raven is one of them. This is not a Frappe funded app. It is run by the Commit company. But you'll see a bunch of other applications that are not at all designed. I mean, they have nothing to do with us. All we have done is we have vetted these apps. We have reviewed their code. We have made sure they follow our guidelines. And that is it. You get access to these apps as well. So some of these apps, for instance, you might be popular, you might know already, is the POS Awesome app. Okay, it's not in. Okay. Insane. Anyway, there are like hundreds of these apps. I have forgotten everything about them, but you might know some of these apps already. But we have some special category of apps on Frappe Cloud. For instance, when you install ERP Next, especially, one requirement we saw was some local compliance. So for a few countries, in India, Resilient team has built the India compliance app. And for a few other countries, our partners are building newer apps that essentially just take care of their local compliance. So you just pick the country whose app you want to install, and you pick a region, just like you would create, and then you go ahead. So one thing is, for the trial, during the trial, we did not ask people to choose a plan. That is because we just want to give users a very quick demo of Frappe Cloud, and we also want to not have to ask them about payment details. But one of the other questions that we usually get is, okay, which plan do I choose? And I mean, there is no easy answer here. But like a few good rules of thumbs, if you're already coming from another platform, say DigitalOcean or AWS, then roughly you should match your cost on Frappe Cloud. And don't worry, you can always upgrade or downgrade. So you don't have to worry about picking a plan that is way too small. You can always upgrade in seconds. You can always downgrade in seconds. And the other question people ask is about this compute hours per day. We have written a blog post explaining what this is. But in general, this is not a physical time limit on your browser. It does not mean you can only visit your site for an hour. What it means is every single request that you make to your site takes some time to process, like a very little amount of time to process on a service. Let's say when you open fabriclab.com homepage, it typically takes 100 milliseconds. So we count this as 100 milliseconds to load this page. And for all the requests on your page, on your website, we add up, and within a day, that is essentially your compute time, which is way less than the amount of time you're spending on the website. And then over time, you'll get an idea about what is a correct or your average compute time. It is very hard to predict because sites come in different sizes. Some of the smaller sites we have seen has only few users, but all requests are very, very expensive. Some of the times you have seen very heavy sites, but all of the requests are very cheap. Anyway, typically you'll see that the more and more you pay, you'll get more and more storage and you'll get more and more compute hours. And everything else stays the same though. For the smaller plans, we have some restrictions. For instance, the cheapest plan that we offer here is showing 820, which is basically $10 a day. It turns out it is not the cheapest plan. So you can pick, you can choose to pick. Yeah, if you pick only some setup apps, for instance, if you only choose ERP Next and you have to stay on version 15, then on a few regions, for instance, in Mumbai and USA, we have the smallest plan that is $5 per month. You get half as much compute units as the $10 plan, but the barrier to entry becomes way too low. So you start on $5 per month, and then you go high according to your compute needs. Like there is no restriction on any features inside ERP Next. We don't restrict any particular module, any particular app, or we don't put any limits on number of users. So whatever you can do within your site, you can always do, as long as you stay within these compute and storage limits. So there are a few features that are available on $25 and $50 plans, which is basically on $25, you get the ability to have something called a private bench. For people that already know, that means you can now, with the private bench, what you can do is you can develop your own apps instead of just relying on the apps that Frappe has published in the marketplace. And from $50 onwards, you get additional feature called database access, which is you can now use you can use an analytics tool like Insights, for instance, or you can use Power BI to connect to your site and directly do some analytics. So those are the only two restrictions that we put on smaller plans. Everything else, on the bigger plans, everything is freely available. One more thing, that is from plans from $50 and onwards, we also include ERP Next support. Actually, we support all the apps that Frappe writes. So if you have a bug, if you find a bug in ERP Next, if you find a bug in, say, help desk and you're using it, and you're already in $50 plan, that bug is already covered by your support. All you have to do is basically go to support.frappe.io. And for the first time, you'll have to log in using Frappe Cloud. And that is basically the sign-up procedure. And then you can start creating tickets. For instance, we already show what sites we have. And then there are certain limits. For instance, we already know that smaller plans, if you have a $10 plan, then we won't let you choose ERP Next or HRMS as a app. You can always raise any ticket about Frappe Cloud. You can raise tickets about performance. You can raise ticket about just asking general how to about Frappe Cloud. That is always free, but this is only for plans on 15 above. You get additional support. Just some clarification about the plans. So that being said, let me see what's another thing on the agenda. Okay. All right. So other than this, other than creating sites, which you can, where you can install apps from apps that FAPE has decided FAPE has vetted. Sometimes people want to install their own custom application, which is like a very common case. We have roughly 2,000 customers and we have 2,500 custom apps already running on FAPE Cloud. So these are like very uh, popular thing to run on FAPE Cloud. So I already have created a bench, but if you already are using deploying FAPE somewhere else, typically what you do is you start a server and you run bench init command. This is the equivalent of bench init command on FAPE. You pick the branch, let's say version 14, you pick the region, and we automatically find a server where we have enough space to place your bench. You give a friendly name, let's just say version 14 webinar, and that is the equivalent of bench init on FAPE Cloud. So we already picked the correct repository, correct branch. You can always go and add your apps. You can install marketplace apps if you want. Let's say we want to use version 14 ERPNX as well. And let's say I want to also install, so you can connect your GitHub account, or you can just directly go to download a public app. Let's say in this case, I want to install an app from my own account. Webinar demo. I already have made a demo app. So this is the thing about FAPE Cloud. Because we have built this explicitly and exclusively for FAPE, there are like several features that are just not available on any other cloud providers. Like DigitalOcean is no way going to understand what your repository is, what a branch is, and whether an app like this already exists. That is just this is the thing that you're going to find only on FAPE Cloud. And let's say in this case we created an app, and the next action is basically you deploy your bench. So bench deploys take a while, but this is again auditable. You know when you started the deploys, you know which apps were changed, you know who in your team did the deploy. You also know how long it took to do this update. So we can wait, or we can just go and find another bench. Let's say I have version 13 webinar bench that is already created, which is the same bench, sorry. So after deploying, you basically get something like this. This is the site I had created, but you get your own bench deployed in a region of your choice. So Mumbai is the region we chose, but this server F5 Mumbai, it just correctly, heuristically chosen by FAPE. You don't have to worry about where this server is placed or what it is called. All you have to know is your bench is called webinar, and then you have apps like this. So one of the other features that people ask is, hey, I'm writing custom applications, and sometimes I have to go and debug these applications. Right? So on FAPE Cloud, you have SSH access feature as well, just like you would have it on AWS or DigitalOcean. What you do essentially is we give you a bunch of commands to run, which is basically saying key for your username and for your bench that you just created. We create a SSH certificate, and now you can use this SSH certificate to log in, which is basically just as simple as running two commands. Let me just make the screen bigger so it is visible. All this does basically just copy the certificate in a file, so the next command can use it. And the next command is basically SSH command. And that is it. After running this command, we just drop you into the bench. And then if you can run a few common utilities that you have seen before, you can list out. You can see that, hey, all we are running in this container is are your own process. We're running your workers, your web worker, etc. If you already have sites here, you can list them. You can also do, if you want to run a specific, say, MariaDB query, that you can run as you would do on your local development or your production site on DigitalOcean. So everything that you can do elsewhere, you can do on FAPE Cloud. You can also run bench console. So only thing you cannot do here is run commands as root. Other than that, everything is fair game. There are no restrictions. Like nothing is limited here. If you try to do something like sudo apt install, that won't work. But on Fabric Cloud, let's say it will install NetTools. This won't work, but everything else will work. So that is one, just another escape hatch in case you want to debug something, you want to take care of a nasty bug. Let me just go to the bench that we created. We created this bench called version 14 webinar. So we got a different server, but we don't care about it at all. All we care is we got a bench. We got the apps that we wanted. And then we got a specific deployment of these apps. So we got a webinar demo on this version, this specific commit. So now let's say, how would you deploy? Let's say I want to create a site on this bench so that I can install all these apps that I created. I would pick the marketplace app, and let's say let's skip the ERPNX for a while, just slower. And we chose the webinar demo app. We pick a plan. Now the plan has to be $25 and onwards. That is the restriction on benches for now. It is not available for $5, $10 benches. I mean $5 and $10 sites. So again, we create a site. Bench, private. That's how I'll be able to keep track of these sites. I'm just randomly renaming them. So again, the site creation process is the same, except the only difference you got is now the custom app that I wrote is in the list. That's it. So while this app is being deployed and everything, one thing I want to do is I want to go back. And while it is being created on GitHub, I'll just make some changes to my app. And let's just see what happens. So I just tried this a few minutes ago. Let me try it again. Maybe all I want to do is just a readme MD change. Nothing fancy. Maybe readme MD is way too simple. Let me go and update the Hookspy. That essentially lets me update the name of the app. So let's just call it webinar app. That's it. So this is essentially equivalent of your git push, whatever. The commit is now available on your Git repo as the most recent commit. And then when you go to Fabric Cloud, what you would see is you see an update available button that basically shows, hey, like the webinar demo app that we deployed, like there is a new update available, and a new commit message is also available. We also link to GitHub saying, hey, this is the exact change that you're going to deploy. So you don't accidentally deploy a weird patch that you don't intend to push. So now that we have a site, and we have this app update ready, what we can do is we can just basically tell, hey, not only update this app, deploy this app, but update the site as well. So whenever the build process is complete, go on directly. I don't want to wait here. I don't want to wait for this process to complete, or and then come here and click a button. Just update the site automatically. So this is again one of the features on Fabric Cloud where all you do is just a single click deploy. That takes care of everything. Maybe we can just wait for the update to complete just for effect. I'm sorry, this is the recording webinar. The deploys, anyway. So while this is happening, let me just think of what to do next. Okay, so let me show you some things about sites then while we are at it. So that we created this site. Typically on your bench shell, when you deploy it on, say, DigitalOcean, all you get is a site directory and you can run some commands. On Fabric Cloud, you don't have to run command. For instance, if you want to install ERPNX later, which you can't do, by the way, you can just come and click install. Right? Maybe you want to get rid of this app. You can, okay, that I don't know how to do. Okay, so now you can go to the app and just click on install, and then the app will be uninstalled. Let me just show you a few things. For instance, you can create a backup automatically. You don't have to run a bench backup command. You just have to click a button and a backup will be created for you. Site config changes, like this is one of the other things that people usually want to do is they want to go and add a particular key, and sometimes they mistype the key. For instance, server scripts, you don't have to know what the exact key for server script is. You just type server and roughly we give you the keys that match. And then we also know what the values for this key are, and you just pick whether it's true or false. And that is the I mean, this is the magic, right? This is the magic where like there are fewer and fewer mistakes you can do, so that now your engineers don't have to worry about, hey, what if I make a mistake, or what if they do make a mistake, and then now you have to go and rectify them. All right. One of the other things which will be harder to mention here is adding a custom domain on Fabric Cloud is also really easy. Basically, all you have to do is, let's say I buy a domain called example.com. Now it's going to be difficult to demonstrate. Maybe I should have prepared it before. All you type is your domain name, and we essentially ask you to create a record. So you have to go to your DNS provider, add a record that we mentioned. In this case, you have to add a CNAME record with this value, or you want to add a record with this value, because this is the IP address of our proxy server. Once you add this record correctly, we just verify whether you are added to the record, and then everything else after that is just magically straightforward. Should I just added a maybe in some time I can show you this. So anyway, so the backup that we asked to create is ready now. In this case, it is not an offsite backup. There's no check here. So there are fewer things you can do with a backup that is not offsite. What you can do, however, is download the files as is and keep them locally. So you don't have to worry about us storing them, or maybe you want a backup at a specific time for your site. There are more interesting things that you can do with offsite backups. Let me find a site with an offsite backup, and it will be evident. This is just very interesting and fun. Okay, so I found a site that already has a private backup. So about backups though, what we do essentially is we run one backup a day. So we used to run 4 backups a day for all the sites. Now we run 1 backup a day every 24 hours. I mean, that is what 1 backup a day means. So we run 1 backup a day, and we keep this backup on an offsite location. For right now, the offsite location means S3 bucket in the same region. So instead of keeping all the backups for last few years or so, we essentially have a rotation policy that keeps last 7 days worth of backups, then 1 backup every Sunday, and 1 backup every first of the month, first of the year, and so on and so forth. So you get a wide enough spread without having to store hundreds of backups. But you don't have to worry about any of that. And then even if you accidentally drop a site, we keep the most recent backup of your site with us anyway. So even though you're not paying for it, we keep 1 backup ready for you just in case you want to recover from an accidental deletion. So about private backups, what you can do is you can say, hey, I made some changes to my site that were just bad for me. I want to restore this backup on this site right now. So I want to basically roll back to 2 hours before, 1 hour before. And that is it. That is just one click button. That is all you have to do. And Fabric Cloud does everything magically to restore your site to a previous state. Something like this is essentially like a 3 shell commands on bench that is deployed outside Fabric Cloud. The other thing you can do is, let's say you want to create a demo site, right? Maybe you want to test out a feature somewhere. Maybe you want to test out version 14. You can restore this backup on another site. So we just give you a list of another sites that are already in your account, and then you can say, hey, instead of restoring on the current site, which I don't want to disturb for whatever reason, I want to restore my backups elsewhere. So just a few minutes ago, on this bench, we made the update, right? So we got the log of who made the update whenever the update happened. And we asked the site to be updated at the same time also, right? So on the site also, then we keep records of everything. We keep records under the update staff saying, hey, a migrate happened. So in this case, by the way, the app hooks.py was changed, right? So we automatically then deduce, hey, hooks.py changes typically require a bench migrate command. And if you do something like this on anywhere else, right, you have to figure out whether you want to run bench migrate or not. On Fabric Cloud, this is just, again, automatically taken care of. One of the other things we do, and it's very, very hard to demonstrate here, is in case you deploy a broken fix, right? We just automatically revert your site back to a state where it was still working. So you don't have to worry about pushing a fix that is, pushing a change that is going to break your site. Your site will always be running. It won't have the most recent code, but it'll always be running. So there are a few other things you can do. One of the interesting things is version upgrade is extremely easy on Rapid Cloud, right? Again, all you have to do is basically, this site is not likely, right? Like this site is on the most recent version, so it can't be updated. Let me find a version 13 site. So this site is a version 14 site. It's not version 15, but it's good enough. So you go to actions and you say upgrade. Okay, I don't have a private bench. That is also fine. I can create one. Maybe version 14 shared. Actions, upgrade. Okay, so in this case, by the way, upgrades usually take a long time. So instead of having to upgrade immediately, so if you don't do anything, we just upgrade the site immediately. But you can also schedule, hey, maybe Thursday, December 3rd at 4 a.m. in the morning, is when I want to upgrade the thing. And by the way, if there is a broken patch, skip it, right? This essentially is a timed command that you have to run. You have to wake up your engineer at a particular time. Just doesn't have to worry. It's very extremely simple on Rapid Cloud. One of the other things is, because we have so many teams and sometimes people want to transfer ownerships of sites from one team to another, one of the easier things you could do is you just say, hey, this site is no longer is in Aditya webinar. Maybe I want Aditya plus the member team to own this site, and say whatever demo. So people get a notification. Let me see if I'm going to get a notification. Okay. The mail sometimes take a few seconds to go. Anyway, while I get an email, maybe I can plan the next thing that I want to tell you. Okay, so we saw about sites, we saw about benches, we saw public benches and private benches. So one of the other things that people kept us asking was servers, which is essentially, hey, I don't want to worry about this compute hour thing at all. I'm very happy. I know exactly how much CPU, how much RAM my site needs, right? I was using it on DigitalOcean. I was using it on AWS. Just give me the same thing, right? Don't make me choose. Also, I don't want any restrictions. Like I don't want my site to slow down or turn off. So in that case, okay. So you need to have a few dollars in credits for this to happen. So let me just turn it back on for the stream and come back to you. Continue. Okay, so again, all I did was just enable this feature for me. So you can raise a ticket, or you can just add $200 in your account, and this feature is automatically enabled. So you say, okay, hey, we have dedicated server and hybrid server. I'll explain what hybrid server is. But dedicated server is essentially a server that Frappe owns, and it is only allocated to you. So no other sites or no other customer sites are placed here. And you can also choose which of your sites go on this server, right? So you can say, hey, maybe 4 of my customers, they pay for the same server. I want to place them together. The rest 4 somewhere else. Let's give them this also name that is very genuine. As of now, we are, by the way, these 10 regions, most of these regions are provided out of, powered by AWS, except Saudi Arabia. That region is powered by OCI. So in case you have requests about more regions where AWS already is available, just send us a support ticket, and then we can make that region available as well. Servers are slightly more expensive than sites. They start from $10,000. Some regions are more expensive than others. For instance, South Africa is extremely expensive compared to Mumbai or USA. So let's say we create a server. And in this case, what you get is essentially just like what you get on AWS. We even tell what exactly is the instance type you're going to use. So if you're familiar with the AWS naming, that is the exact instance you're going to get. So you pick two plans. You pick a plan for your application server where your benches go, and you pick a separate plan for a database server. So typically people use a bigger bigger RAM for database server. I don't have $200. That is just there. Okay, this is going to be why is this so fun? Okay, this is not letting me create. Anyway, so after you create dedicated server, by the way, so because you're already paying for the compute, you're paying say 20,000 rupees for the compute, you're paying $250 for the compute. You don't pay anything for the sites you put on it, and you don't get any restrictions in terms of features on those sites. So all of those sites get access to private benches. All of those sites get access to database access. Database access is a feature I haven't shown you by the way. So either you make a choice. You pay for sites, and then we make our best effort to place your site on a server which has enough capacity, or you pick a dedicated server, which is the recommendation, which is the recommendation for sites that have say heavy usage. So you get a very consistent performance across all day, and you're not worried about who is your neighbor and how overloaded or how free is that server. Other than dedicated servers, we have a feature called hybrid server, which is essentially instead of Frappe owning the server, you own the server. So this might be because you either want to have have some control over your data. You want that server to be physically located in a particular space, or maybe you have a bare metal server. Either way, all you have to have is a public IP address and a private IP address for the server. You still have to have two servers. We can make it work with one server for now. But if you have two VMs or two bare metal servers, then all you have to tell is the public IP address of those servers and place our key, Fabric Cloud's key, on your servers, and we take care of the rest. We automatically install all the dependencies that we need to install, and then you get essentially the same dashboard as you are seeing so far. You get the same dashboard for controlling your site. If you already have sites on your server, we can also we essentially import those sites onto Fabric Cloud. So you don't have to think about like starting a new server or starting from scratch. If you already have a site deployed somewhere, that also works. The dedicated server starts from $500 per month. They are slightly expensive compared to the normal. Hybrid servers start from $500 a month. They are slightly expensive, but one of the other things is there's no restriction on how big those servers can be. Like, we don't really care if those servers have 32 cores and 128 GB RAM on them. So you can buy as big server as you want, and you just pay the flat pricing. So, okay, now that we're coming towards the end of our time, so there are a few more things I want to show. I mentioned the $5 plan. So the entry price from Fabric Cloud is no longer $10. It used to be $10 for a long time, and then we managed to essentially make a $5 site also viable. It is not like a recommended plan for production, but if you just want to have a demo site, if you just want to have a test site for a very small use case, then it just halves your cost. We are also trying to figure out a way to have all of the private benches and dedicated servers to be on a smaller plan that they are currently available. But again, no guarantees. During this webinar, Michelle would have shared a link with you for our Fabric Cloud, Switch to Fabric Cloud campaign. If you sign up using that link, you would get a $10 free credit to try out Rapid Cloud. It is not enough to buy a dedicated server, but it is definitely enough to try a site. One of the other common questions we get around Rapid Cloud is, like, do you have a compliance certification? So Rapid Cloud is ISO 27001 and ISO 9001 certified. That is the quality management QMSM ISMS certificate. If you have requirements for more compliance, maybe give a shot, talk to one of us, and then we can figure out what to do. We are also in the process of figuring out some other compliance certificates. For instance, SOC 2 is very much in progress. If there is any special compliance certificate you need, then let us know. What we have found is, so far, the best way to work around this is to buy hybrid servers. So you can essentially get a compliance done for your servers on your premises, and then you just use Rapid Cloud as an additional layer on top. All right, that covers most of the things that I mentioned. And yeah, one of the other, again, our engineers are just building all the cool stuff every single time. So Tanmay from our team has just built this SQL playground. So let me show you what this is. So what you do is essentially pick a site, and this just sets up a browser-based explorer for your site. It takes a while to set up. Okay. Maybe we can come back to this.
No, I think till it's set up, maybe we have some questions that we want to ask you. I'll quickly run those. You will be able to see them on your screen. It will just take a minute. Please answer them.
Okay, so while you guys answer the question, let me just show you SQL Playground. So one of the things you can do is, instead of having to run your query somewhere else, you can just type your query in Rapid Cloud dashboard, and it just works. You can also get a read-write access and update your data. Slightly dangerous, but extremely simple thing to do. This is just a impossibly magical feature that one of our engineers has built. Please give a shout out to Tanmay if you can. So maybe I'll just play around a little bit, and then we can move on query. Okay, this is not what I want. Okay, so that is basically the end of the demo for Rapid Cloud. And I'll stop sharing my screen. What we'll do is we will. So a few of you have answered. I mean, most of the answers seem very favorable to us so far. But on the third question, why would you not switch to Rapid Cloud? A significant portion of you have answered there is some other reason other than pricing, other than control of the data. It would be great if you can let us know in the chat. If you all have questions, maybe you can ask the questions around your concerns. Maybe we can answer them here, or I mean, take that as a feedback so that maybe later you'll be convinced. So what I'll do now is I will walk through the questions. I will read the questions and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So somebody anonymous asks, how can we change the name of the domain? How to set up with the help of the custom domain? Can't follow the documentation. Okay, so currently whatever name you get stays the same. You can raise a support ticket. So let's say you create a site with aditya.flappy.cloud. That name stays forever through the lifetime of the site. You can create another site with a different name and restore data from the old site to the new site. That is the easiest way without us having to intervene. Or you can just create a support ticket and we'll help you out. For custom domain, we usually get a lot of questions. Like the easiest answer here is to raise a ticket. Maybe sometimes DNS providers have a different interface. And then, yeah, again, I'm sorry, there is not a really good answer, but raise a ticket for custom domain related issues. The second question is how to build subscription model like it is done in Flappy Cloud. How can I set up my own infrastructure like that? We want to manage the clients since we work on SaaS model. So good news. So there are two ways to do this. One is obviously because Flappy Cloud is open source, you can just go ahead and install Flappy Cloud on your own, right? And obviously you have to choose some other domain name, but everything works, everything including our invoicing, everything including the marketplace. You don't get, like, you still have to curate your own marketplace and create your own plans, but Flappy Cloud just works out of the box. The other way is we have a special plan for something like this. We call it a managed press offering. So maybe reach out to me and then we can get you sorted. We are working on making this work on the current installation. So if you don't want to run your own installation of Flappy Cloud with or without our help, doing this currently on Flappy Cloud is a little bit complicated. We are, like, our engineers are currently figuring out the sign-up flows for our own SaaS offerings, Flappy Builder, Game Plan, Wiki, etc., etc. Once those are set out, once those are done, we'll help you guys out to set up your own sign-up flows. In the meanwhile, setting up your own Flappy Cloud is the easiest. Lavish says, how can we deploy Flappy Cloud using our own infrastructure as we want to offer a solution for our customers? There is a lot of documentation around this. A lot of users are already using their own installations of Flappy Cloud. There is also a Telegram group where, like, half the questions that we get are not from our customers on Flappy Cloud, but around self-hosting. So maybe join the Telegram group. Ping me later and I can share the link. Maybe we can share the link here if we can. There is, again, the documentation is not very comprehensive, but it is sufficient to get started. If you have particular questions around something, then let me know. Either then you can send us a PR or we can fix the docs. Okay. I'm sorry for mispronouncing the name if I do. Carmelina says, what is it hosted on, and are they your own data centers? So the regions you see today, out of the 10 regions, except Saudi Arabia, everything is hosted on AWS. So you would see like one-to-one correspondence between AWS regions and our regions. So everything is hosted on AWS, except Saudi Arabia. That region is hosted on OCI because AWS is not in Saudi Arabia at this point. So OCI and AWS is the answer. Oracle Compute Cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and Amazon Web Services. We don't yet have our own data centers, though that is a plan. Sultan Ali asks, can you customize server processor, RAM, and storage capacity? At this point, no. You can always ask for additional storage. You can buy as much additional storage as you want. Even on a smallest server plan, you can buy a bigger storage capacity. But for now, the instance types that are available, like C6, R6, M6, etc., are the only options we are providing. Maybe we can make this. Maybe we can make this work for now for you, but right now it's not available. Right now, only options are whatever is in the plans list. Nimrod Richard asks, tell us more about the servers feature and add shortcut to marketplace. So, so the server feature is basically just instead of paying for the sites individually, you pay for the servers. Typically, these servers are priced on, slightly extra than what you would buy them on AWS. So if you go and buy these servers from AWS directly and try to self-host, then you would find them 30 to 40% cheaper on AWS directly. But you then have to go and do additional work. On Traffic Cloud, we charge some premium, but the benefit is you get the dashboard. So the only difference between server plans and site plans is that on server you pay for the compute resources. On site you pay for the sites. I hope that answers the question. I'm not clear what add a shortcut to marketplace means. I'm probably some link to the shortcut. Link to the marketplace is missing in the dashboard. Okay, we will make it happen. Nimrod Richard again asks, kindly increase sites limit from 10 to 100. I'm not sure where this limit is, but maybe we added some limit that I forgot exists. We can absolutely increase this limit. Maybe let us know where exactly you found it. Rajesh Srinivasan asks, why public shared benches do not allow the use of server scripts? Okay, so this is a whole thing. If you go and talk to our framework engineer, Ankush, they found out, Ankush found out a long time ago that server scripts are inherently dangerous. They are basically as good as letting people run arbitrary Python code. So the problem now is, let's say there are two customers on public benches that they won't know of each other, right? That is the definition of public benches, right? You're using common shared resources. So now one of these customers can enable server scripts on their site and run some malicious code that not only affects themselves but affects everybody else on that bench. It doesn't affect customers on another benches. It definitely doesn't affect customers on other sites, but it affects customers on the same benches. It is like giving people ability to run commands, SH commands within their own bench, and that is extremely dangerous. We had server scripts enabled for everybody everywhere, but later we found out about this vulnerability. So the only way to have server scripts and still protect everybody, us, you, other users, is to disable it on public benches. There is just no work around this. GS Kishan asks, as database accessible is available, yes, there are, database access and private bench access. Like those two features are paywalled. Private benches are available from $25 and onwards, and database access is available from $50 and onwards. We'll think about reducing these limits, but right now those are the concerns, because what we have seen is usually the database access feature gets used for analytics purpose, and then users essentially get to bypass the usage limit, which is essentially slight unfairness introduces slight unfairness between people who use the database access feature and don't. So the way we decided to solve it is by saying, okay, if somebody pays enough, which is $50, then let them use it. You can still use the SQL Playground for running random commands, but it's not. You won't be able to link, Power BI or Insights to the SQL Playground. But you can, if you just have to run arbitrary commands once in a while on your database, you can run them. GS Kishan asks, okay, there are 40 questions. Maybe I'll try to go slightly faster. If I want to access database, unable to access with 2050 with the customers. Unfortunately, it's just not possible. One of the other option is you can buy a dedicated server for yourself, put 2 or 3 of your customers on it so that they share the cost of the whole dedicated server. And then that way, all of your customers will have access to the plan without having to pay extra. Pallavi Silvase asks, I'm facing error for accessing bench sometime. I can take SSH, but sometimes not. Okay. Why says too many authentication failure? I've tried deleting key and erroring. Okay, we have seen this issue. Maybe we'll just get on a call with you. What you are seeing is there are some, in process of getting this ISO certification, we added some limits on how many times you can retry logging in. We'll lift some of these limits for you. We'll also add some docs about how to work around these limits. Somebody anonymous asks, how can we change the name of the domain? Okay, this is done. Okay, maybe it was asked twice. I have already answered the question, okay. Then somebody anonymous says, yes, I think Fabric will soon be commercial. The pricing in our Fabric Cloud hosting is much expensive compared to first release year. I mean, yes, it is expensive, right? Because, I mean, believe it or not, it takes like 4 engineers to run Fabric Cloud, right? So somebody has to pay that extra salary, extra cost. And not only those 4 engineers, right? Like we still have another team, right, which is building a bunch of great apps, right? Somebody has to fund those apps as well. So yes, like 1:1 comparison with DigitalOcean, Amazon servers would make it seem like Fabric Cloud is expensive, and we are aware of that. We are working on some projects to reduce this, reduce this difference enough so that the premium won't seem like too much to you. But at the same time, like what you have to realize is, I mean, some of the features that I showcased today, right, just have insane value. Right? They save a lot of time. They essentially remove too much dependency on humans, right? And then just take care of like whole set of issues at once. So if that does not, I mean, if the value proposition does not make sense to you, maybe we can talk and figure out what exactly is it that you want. But we are aware of the feedback. We're working on it. So Nitesh Surek asks, custom domain in Fabric Cloud, I want www. Do I need 2 sites or 2 websites? No, you don't. You can have as many custom domains as you want, and you can redirect these custom domains to a primary domain. You have to make one of these domains as primary domain. There is a feature, there is a option to make a domain primary and redirect other domains to it. Ganasekran Natarajan asks, is there a possibility to have plans connected on the bench level rather than site level? Say if I take 25 plan, can we run a live site for the customer and another test site with 2 different URL? Unfortunately, no. Right now, you have to pay for sites or you have to pay for server. There is no way to pay for a bench. But feedback taken. Is there any option to restrict? So Pawan Mehta asks, is there any option to restrict access to a site URL from certain public IP addresses from network security perspective? So if you have a dedicated server, like we can set it up like quickly, like in 10 minutes, we can do it for you. Just raise a support ticket. There is already an open GitHub issue to make this feature available for sites that aren't on a dedicated server. So maybe give a thumbs up and then somebody will pick it up very quickly. But it's entirely possible. It is just not available right now. Maybe raise a support ticket and then we can get it done. Anonymous attendee asks, I need to have 2 websites. Can this be done from one site in ERP Next? So no. A website can have 2 URLs, but the website will look the same. So mysite.com and mysite1.com will look the same. If that is what you want, then one site is good. If you want those sites to look differently, you will need 2 sites. Jyoti Gujri asks, sir, how to directly open custom app, install files in my local system, and can we directly change in code without update? Unfortunately, no. Like this is not possible right now. You can't update code on Fabric Cloud. You can go and edit it, but the changes won't be edited. Hopefully, in near future, one of our engineers will work on something like this. Arun from our team is working on something called development boxes, but it's slightly different use case than what you are suggesting. Nikhil Kothari asks, what's the recommended option to use if we were to host our own SaaS using FC? Private benches or servers? Even on servers, would it make sense to use hybrid server? We expect to run 50 sites in the next year. on average, each site would be on equivalent of a 200 plan. If using servers, how many of them would we need for 50 sites? Also, is SOC compliance in the cards? Okay, so I'll answer the SOC compliance. It is Pushkar from our team is working on SOC compliance. We are not sure of the timelines. Other than that, for SaaS, again, maybe we can have a talk, discussion on how to do this correctly. Maybe let's just get on a call. But if you have like again, the general rule we are saying is like roughly you can fit on a $200, $300 server, you can fit 50 sites easily, as long as they are actually trial sites and not heavy users. By the way, that reminds me, for people who are writing marketplace apps, right, we are also doing revenue sharing. So if you are already writing a marketplace app or are interested in writing a marketplace app and your app is open source, then we calculate some share of revenue depending on how many users use that app on TrafficCloud, and we will send that revenue your way for having that app on marketplace and helping us make some money. Anonymous attendee asks, in your cloud hosting, is there a hidden charge fee when doing development in your cloud? We haven't charged anybody any hidden fee so far. If we see some unusual patterns like insane amount of downloads transfer, we usually suspend the account and ask for a reasonable explanation. We haven't charged anybody anything extra. Nimrod Richard asks, is it possible to separate billing to capture each site individually instead of capturing all in one invoice? You can make a separate team for all of these teams. Separate team for all of these sites, and then they would have a separate invoice for each one of them. If you would not like to do that, then maybe create a GitHub ticket, and then we can get it done. Anonymous attendee asks, what? Maybe you download a production version, try to download dev script version of ERPNX. You can freely use server script and client script. Okay, I don't understand. Okay, I'll skip that. Sultan Ali Fateh asks, can we increase RAM process storage during current plan? On-site plans, no, there are no customizations possible. You have to upgrade the plan. On server plans, you can buy additional storage, but not RAM and CPU. You have to upgrade the server. Savita BL asks, can I deploy without internet? I'm sorry, no, like TrafficCloud at this point is online only. You can have your own installation, and then you can absolutely have it offline. Anonymous attendee asks, I'm a $50 plan, created a site without creating a bench group, and I don't see all apps available in Marketplace under add app option. Okay, can I create a site, create a new bench group, migrate my site with all of these apps? Yes, you can. You can move your sites between any bench groups. You can't downgrade. You can't grow from version 14 to 13. You can grow from version 13 to 13 and 13 to 14. You can always move sideways and upwards. Second is, if you create additional bench groups with different sites, will I be charged additionally? Again, like we don't charge you for benches, so you can create hundreds of benches and we won't charge you anything. Those benches will go away soon when we notice there are no sites attached to those benches. We don't charge for benches, we only charge for sites. Nimrod Richard asks, is it possible to have a custom plans with larger database and less storage or compute? We have gotten this feedback over and over again. So far, you can't do that, but raise a GitHub issue and thumbs up. If you get more demand for this, we'll do it. Anonymous attendee asks, and can you activate client server script via? So you can go and set developer mode on your site. It is not going to be a good idea. You can run bench clear cache using the SSH access feature. You cannot do that, I think, from server scripts. So developer mode on TrafficCloud is not a good idea at all. Please do not do it. Savita B asks, I want to configure startup accounts based on 3-tier organization. I'm sorry, I'm not a ERPNX expert. Maybe you can ask it on a ERPNX group. Prashant Kumar asks, can we downgrade to previous commit? Or you cannot undo it, an update. If the only way a rollback happens is if during the update, basically the bench migrate command breaks. That is the only time an upgrade, a downgrade is possible. If you're worried about if you want rollbacks to happen, what you can do is like just before the update, take a backup, deactivate your site, and then upgrade, and then verify your update has worked. This is slightly complicated, but that is the only way. Rollbacks are not possible at this point. You can push, if you have a custom app, you can push the same get revert and pretend that you are rolling back, but you have to take care of the rollbacks. Savita BL asks, as my team are doing projects in two different bench, are locally deployed, and I want to integrate both in one site. If I take backup, it's taking latest backup, but what I have done before is deleted. Is there any solution for this? For local backups, so in system settings, there is a feature, there's a field that basically sets a limit on number of backups you have. Maybe try increasing the number. It probably set to 1, so it only keeps the most recent backup. Set it to 4 or 5, and then it will return 4 local backups. Carmelina asks, why AWS? In my mind, at least, the idea of open source. Say we get the hypocrisy. Like a few days ago, we said, don't pay Jeff. Like that was the line on Traffic Cloud. Unfortunately, AWS is really good. We are finding ways to get off of AWS. We are trying to find ways to go to a very local, like non-brand name vendors. But right now, given the growth that we are looking at and given the reliability expectations, AWS is the best option we have. We would like to go off of it though. How can we view the code? So for press code, you have to go to github.com/frappe/press. It is not Frappe Cloud, it is press, PRESS. Nabil Khan asks, how can I SH my custom app backend code and debug it? I just showed the SH access feature. There is also documentation for SH access. You have to be on private bench. That is the only way to get a custom app though. Nitish Surek asks, how do we estimate which plan would be better? Is there a dumb rule? So Ankush some time ago had made a rule. Maybe we can share the sheet publicly. Maybe that will solve the problem. Ganasekaran Natarajan asks, is SQL Playground available for all the plans? I think it is available for all the plans. It might be restricted for your user. Maybe raise a ticket and we can enable it for you. Chris Lee, can this be? Yes, it absolutely can be self-hosted. All the documentation is on github.com/frappe/press. Shraddha, HR department, asks, if I want to increase DB size, unfortunately, you cannot do that now. Create a GitHub issue, thumbs up, and we'll do it. Kushal Patel, shared hosting at $50. This is limited to one site per instance, right? So if you were to add, yes, $50 per site. All the site plans are per site. There are no staging sites at this instance. Jyoti Gujri asks, how to use this API. So the API listed on the docs page is outdated. It probably won't work. We will publish a newer API. If all you want is a feedback from Frappe Cloud to your account, which is basically just fetching information from Frappe Cloud, webhooks is the best idea. So in your, there is some documentation for webhooks on Frappe Cloud. Maybe look it up. That is the best way to get information out of Frappe Cloud. Sending is another way. We will publish in your doc. Savita Bill again asks, how can you deploy without internet? You can't. It's unfortunately not possible. Yogesh, maybe ping me, like maybe you have a different case. Yogesh Pagare asks, is it possible for you to make it more affordable for daycare servers? We are working on it. Right now, no though. Anonymous attendee asks, one way to install ERP Next. Okay, just okay, it's not a question. Anonymous attendee asks, you cannot create a new site because your account doesn't have a valid payment method. Is it compulsory to add payment details if you want to go with a demo? So we recently changed the sign-up process. Even you saw me, you can now just sign up with a new email and you don't have to provide any payment details. You get to create a trial site for free. Sarita BL asks, can I make 2 sites deployed in one site without crashing old one, which is deployed locally? And if I take backup, it's overrunning old one with latest. Maybe get on a call with me. Like you have a bunch of questions that I can answer separately. Dialika, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing everybody's names. How do we add in our customized ERP Next? So just like any other custom app, don't install the marketplace ERPNX. You go and say key add from GitHub, link to your ERPNX repository, and you can install your custom ERPNX on Fapper Cloud. Ashok Survas asked, why are you not using RDS to replace EC2? Well, RDS is expensive. And then I think we are arrogant enough to think we know enough about running MariaDB on our own now. That is primarily the reason. Nabil Khan asks, how can I search my custom app? SH access feature works for private benches. Try it out. If you don't, raise a ticket if you can't. Pravina Kumar asks, when you create the site with some apps or Fapper Cloud directly, and you want to access the source files for the same, unfortunately, you can't. You have to have a private bench for having access to the apps. Anonymous certainly asks, okay, it's the same question again and again. I'm so sorry. Tony James asks, is Fapper now stable with Postgres as the database? I'm not sure. Maybe somebody, some framework developer can answer you, help you better on Telegram or Discuss forum. Nimrod Richard asks about these sites. Okay, there was a limit of 10 sites. Okay, probably it is increased. If you still face the limit, maybe send us a screenshot and support, we'll fix it. Anonymous certainly asks, how can we install other apps from non-Fapper developers? As long as they're on GitHub, not GitLab or Bitbucket, you can just link their repository while adding an app, and we'll install it for you. Will this webinar? Yes, this webinar will be available on YouTube. Anonymous certainly asks, with disabling server script for V15, is there an easy way to translate server scripts to client scripts? Unfortunately, I mean, it depends. It depends on what your scripts are doing. But there's no, I mean, without looking at your scripts, we can't tell. I have a suggestion in cache flow problem. I'm sorry, I'm not an ERPNX expert. Okay. Okay. Maybe Michelle can answer the question later. Okay. Anonymous attendee asks, do you have, okay, that is answered. Do you have documentation to create our own site for customized ERPNX? We don't, but it's just like any another app. If you raise an, I mean, if you face an issue, maybe raise a ticket, we'll help you out. Then Nabil Khan asks, is there any option for cross-origin resource sharing setting? So yes, in site config, you can add a key called allow cors. You can just type CORS in the site config and the key will show up. If you want help for other headers, maybe raise a support ticket and we'll write documentation about how to add custom headers on your sites. But CORS is very easily supported on Fapper Cloud. Prasant Kumar asks, CORS, yes, CORS is supported on Fapper Cloud. Paul asks, are site URLs on Fapper secured from denial of service, distributed denial of service attacks, or have we any measures to prevent the same? We have some fail to ban Rails rules set up, but other than that, no. The worst case that can happen is you run out of your CPU quota for that day. We'll happily reset the quota for you. If that is what is happening, if somebody is spamming your site, we'll reset the quota. In some scenarios, we have seen spam attacks. Then, I mean, we react to them case-to-case basis. We just block the IPs where the attacks are coming from. Right now, there is no automated system to do this. Prasad Vigireddy asks, what is the use of public in release group? If I check public, it is not showing in bench groups. Okay, so this is about press, self-hosted. So a public release group, if you check, then it doesn't show up anywhere because it only shows up when you create a site without trying to create it on a particular bench. So the release group will show up under version 14, 13, 15 in the new site option. Pallavi Suroy asks, can we update public HTML PDF for version 11? You can absolutely update it. I'm not sure if it is going to give you the result that you want, but in benches you have a config to update duplicate HTML PDF. It should work as long as, I mean, you'll have to go and review your PDFs after the fact, but you can update it. GS Kishan asks, can you please suggest the plan for options below: 450 end users, unlimited portal users? Go with dedicated server. That is, I mean, the moment you have hundreds of users, the best recommendation is go with dedicated server. The smallest one works. Upgrading the plan takes about 5 minutes. Downgrading the plan takes about 5 minutes. There is no hard recommendation. We have a sheet which you can share, and then you can make a rough estimate. The last two questions. Ibrahim asks, hello, is it possible to create a webinar video training for installing Fabric Cloud locally? Okay. With ease of setting it up, a lot of Arun from our team already has created a video for press setup. Maybe we can share the link in the chat or the Telegram group. But the video is already available. Pasal Vigrid asks, load balancer is there in press? No, not right now. Create a GitHub request. Support GitHub issue and concept. We will figure it out. Right now, not supported though. Okay. I hope that answers everything. I'm so sorry for people whose questions I couldn't answer. I have one use case. Nabil asks, on my site, I have a button that when a user press, it will redirect to the other site desk view without logging. Can we do that? Both sites are deployed on Fabric Cloud. Technically, yes. You should look at our implementation of login as admin on github.com/press, and you will see how we do it. Maybe you can do the similar thing within your custom app. With that custom app, you can't do it though. Other than that, again, the people who responded that they are not convinced to migrate, convinced about migrating to Fabric Cloud, I would be very happy if you could let us know why. Or if you have concerns about that in forms of questions, you can ask. Okay, thanks, Salim.
Maybe you could put Q&A box if you have some more questions or if you have any suggestions for us as to what could make Frappe Cloud better. There's one question in the Q&A box.
Okay.
This is specific to Frappe Cloud. So if those interested in asking ERP next questions and who are not hosted on Frappe Cloud or are not our customers, you can still connect with us on discuss.frappe.io. I'll type that in the chat. That is our community forum where you can ask ERP next and other Frappe apps related question. For those who are hosted on Frappe Cloud, if you have more questions, you can simply raise a ticket with us as on support.frappe.io, the way Aditya showed in the webinar. And for the rest, I have put the link of our Telegram group. It's at Frappe Cloud. If you're interested in knowing more about Frappe Cloud and are interested in switching, you can ask questions in that group. And for the new users, you can go to frappecloud.com/switch. You will get $10 in free credits, which is valid till 30th November. You can avail those credits at least for your first month. That gets covered. So yeah, I see no more questions. Some more requests for training videos. I think we'll have some videos up on Frappe School. And if there are more such, we'll try organizing more such webinars for you. Okay, detailed documentation for press setup.
We already have some documentation for this. Maybe join the Telegram group. You'll find a bunch of messages about this. Maybe I can just find it quickly. Docs. Okay, I think the best thing is join the Telegram group and ask this question there. I'm not able to find the docs right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that brings us to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining and thank you for asking the questions. Would be great if you could, join the Telegram group, ask your questions there and leave us some feedback. Looking forward to hosting more such webinars. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.